Hello, it is Chris and Elizabeth. Welcome back to our global summit. We are so excited to introduce our next guest.
We have Dr. Margaret Paul with us. Dr. Margaret Paul, how are you today?
I'm just great today. How are both of you?
Fine. We're probably going to be tired later,
Yeah.
but we're good. It's been a great day. But just want to take a moment to introduce you and let people know that your website and so forth is innerbonding.com. Then we talked earlier. You really kind of invented this concept, I think, of self-love and self-worth. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. Spirit kind of downloaded the inner bonding process 37 years ago, which is about self-love and attaining self-worth. So yeah, we started to teach that 37 years ago, which was way before people were talking about that.
Yeah. And so what's new today? Like what are you working on today that's the latest and greatest that we can tell everybody about?
Well, I teach 5-day intensives, but now I just started to do 1-day 6-hour intensives for just a few people. It's called Inner Bonding Breakthrough. And I've done one and it was fabulous. And I'm just looking forward to doing more of these. And as you know, Elizabeth, I did a launch last year of my Inner Bonding course, and I'll be doing another one in April. It's an 8-week online course and it's really transformational.
Yeah, it sure is. That was fun to be a part of that, to learn that process. And I think now that I understand that better, it'll be a way more fun launch on for me to help you with this next time too.
Great, thank you.
What is she doing? I get it now. And so yeah, I appreciate being included in that, but I hope to be a bigger part of it coming up in April. So
Right.
Chris,
I mean,
you want to start us off with some questions?
I sure do. So our theme today is success on your terms. So as we're looking at success, like people are so driven for success in every area of their life. How do we couple that with self-love and self-worth? Like what's the balance and what can you speak to that a little bit for us, Margaret?
Yeah, so it's my experience that when we do focus on learning to love ourselves, learning to define our own sense of worth, learning to connect with a higher source of love and wisdom, and learning to share our love with others, we become manifestors. It becomes so much easier to create what we want to create. And we're creating it out of love. We're creating it because it excites us, brings us joy to do that, not because we're just trying to get validation from people, because I think that's not a very good way to manifest. But when you're really excited about what you're doing and you love what you're doing and you know what you have to offer is important to others, then it becomes easy to have success. That's been my experience, the experience of so many of the hundreds of thousands of people that I've worked with.
Is it a dollar amount?
You know, it isn't for me. It is for some people. For me, it's my goal in life is to continue to evolve in my ability to love. And so to me, that's success. Success is helping the people that come to Inner Bonding. Success is getting emails from people all over the world telling me how in one day their life changed. I mean, that to me is success. Now, money generally does follow, but I don't know, I've never been motivated that way. So I suppose for some people that is success. For me, it's completely different.
You know, one of the things that I just love about you is that you're right there. Like when you are, every time I talk to you, you respond right away. You make me feel cared about, loved, and so forth. So is that just a knack you have with all the people that you're just just a special soul in the universe, and it makes me cry almost because I've known each other a long time now.
We have, yes.
You are just so special to me. So I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I think the more we learn to love ourselves, the more we naturally just share love with other people. That's what happens when people learn to see and value themselves. They learn to see and value each other. In fact, that would solve the problems of the world, because if people knew who they were in their divine soul, they would be able to see who others are, and all the crap in our society would go away.
That's it, Margaret. I'm making us T-shirts. On the front, it's going to say manifestors. On the back, it's going to say problem solvers, and that's it. We just need those T-shirts made. And those are just the phrases that I hear you talking about. And when you talked about manifesting those type of beautiful, good things, and with like your mind being that inner work and that self-love, I get excited about that stuff too. Like I said, so Elizabeth was just raving about you. I've only just met Dr. Paul today, but in the 17 minutes that we talked before we went live, I already know I want to adopt you, jump into my pocket and come around with me for a couple of weeks, Margaret. But it's that
Be a different person. It's great.
It's
She's
that
just
kindredness.
amazing. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the workshops that you're offering, because there's a, well, actually I want to talk about your book. Actually, there's Inner
Okay.
Bonding Workbook.
Yeah.
What a gem of a book that is. So if you can't attend a workshop with you specifically, you've got a great book.
Yeah, and I just loved writing this book. The publisher contacted me. His first-time publisher asked me to write a book, and so they gave me like 6 or 8 months to write it. But I write in connection with spirit, and actually everybody can learn to do that if they learn inner bonding. So I sat down and wrote for 6 weekends, and it was done. And I sent it off.
Yeah.
And it is. I love this book. They loved the book. There were no changes at all in the book. It will teach people inner bonding on a very deep level. So if they actually work the book, it will also be life-changing for them.
Awesome. So I know you keep saying the phrase inner bonding. Can you just give us inner bonding in a nutshell? What do you mean when you say inner bonding? I know there's points and points and it gets really deep, but if you could just summarize it, what?
Yeah, inner bonding is a 6-step process that teaches people how to learn from their feelings, how to connect with their feelings, learn from them, how to learn what their false beliefs are that's causing so much of their pain, how to connect with their personal source of spiritual guidance so that they can learn what it means to love themselves, because we don't have very many role models. My parents certainly didn't role model loving themselves or me. So most people don't have those role models. We need to learn to connect to our higher self, whatever that is for a person, as the role model. And so inner bonding is a process that teaches all that. It actually rewires the brain. As you practice the process, you develop what we call the loving adult. And the loving adult is able to nurture us and take action for us in the world, take loving action for others. Life just changes so much when you stop operating out of this lower left brain, which is the ego wounded self that has all the fears and false beliefs, and you start to operate from your higher brain. It's completely different.
Can you explain when you react from your kid-like self, what happens?
Well, it's not so much the kid-like self. It's see, in inner bonding, we've got in the lower left brain, we've got what we call the ego wounded self. This is the part of us that has all the fears and false beliefs. The lower right brain is our inner child, which is our soul. Now, the upper right brain, and you can look at Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor's research. She's a good friend of mine, and she actually talks about these 4 parts of the brain. And when I told her about inner bonding, she says, "Oh, you proved all this 37 years ago." So the upper right brain is the part of us that connects with our higher guidance. It's the feminine aspect, the nurturer. The left upper brain is the external, learning external things and taking action in the world. This is a really important point. When the action-oriented part is being informed by the ego, chaos results in relationships and on the planet. When the left brain is being informed by the right brain, who's connected to a source of truth, that's when we heal.
Beautifully put. Absolutely beautifully put. Christy, do you want to follow up or you want me to?
Yeah. So what do you, as a stumbling block, like if someone said to you, "But I'm not a spiritual person," what's your response to that?
Yeah, they don't have to be. They don't have to be a spiritual person. I ask people to, for example, imagine an older, wiser part of themselves. Just use their imagination, and that will work. For some people, I just say, well, if you have a question, ask the air. It doesn't have to be anything because it's here, whether they believe it or not. I had this one guy who I said, ask the air, and then a month or so later, he says, "I don't know who's answering, but it sure is working." And so he was getting answers, but he had no spiritual belief system at all.
Yeah,
so
that's
people
really
don't need
cool.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
What do you think is one of the biggest stumbling blocks? That for me was a question that popped into my mind. I knew what the answer was, but I just loved hearing you talk about it. But what do you think is some of the hurdles that you see when people come to you, or they come to the inner bonding and they're sort of at ground zero and they're like, I don't even know where to begin or where to start? Like, what are some of their worries or complaints or concerns or thoughts? Can you talk about that for us?
Yeah, well, I mean, inner bonding, the 6 steps is the place to start. Step 1 is tuning into your feelings and getting present. I call it having your inner baby monitor on so that you can be connected. But the stumbling block for most people is that they're operating out of their wounded self. And they have all these false beliefs. Beliefs like, oh, if I love myself, I'm going to end up alone. Nobody will like me anymore. I can't do it. It's too hard. Takes up too much time. It won't feel as good as other people loving me. There's so many false beliefs. The big stumbling block is resistance. People are actually resistant to love. As sad as that is, they are resistant to love because of so many false beliefs that people have about love. But if they have any courage to start to practice inner bonding, the process will heal those false beliefs.
Love it. Let's go back to success for a moment. It's all tied in, but there's so much external and internal pressure that we may feel, or maybe we don't, but I'll just say that we feel to be successful. What's going on with that? Like, what's the difference between external, internal, and why do we feel that?
Well, again, so if we relate to these parts of the brain, the lower left brain, the ego, puts pressure. Oh, you got to do it right. You got to succeed. You got to have the house, the car, the relationship, the money. You got to prove yourself. Everybody's got to see how smart you are. A lot of pressure. You got to do it right. You got to be perfect. Don't make a mistake. Don't fail. Well, this is like immobilizing to people. That's just so scary. But that's the pressure. That's the external pressure of the lower left brain. Whereas when the upper right brain is in charge, then it's about creativity. It's about expression. It's about discovering all of our gifts and talents and expressing who we are in the world. It's about expressing our love in whatever ways we're gifted to do. There is no pressure. And one of the things that I learned to do with inner bonding is to say to my inner child, who's in the lower right brain, I'm going to love you no matter how many mistakes you make. You can fail as many times as you want. I don't care. I'm going to love you anyway, because your worth has nothing to do with success or failure or mistakes. It's intrinsic. And this is one of the things that we teach people. They get to know who they are in their soul, and they realize that their worth is intrinsic. It's not attached to the outcome. The ego wound itself always attaches to the outcome. My happiness and my worth is attached to the outcome. That's the pressure. But when you learn to love yourself, you don't attach the outcome to your happiness or your worth. So it's completely different.
Did everybody just hear that? I hope everybody just heard that. If you didn't, I almost want you to repeat it one more time, just so everybody hears it. Can you do it one more time?
Sure. Okay. So
one more time.
When we feel pressured, it's because the ego, the wounded self, is saying to us, you got to do it right. You got to be perfect. You got to prove yourself. You got to succeed. Don't fail. Don't make mistakes. Just, do everything right. Get enough money. Get the right car, the relationship, blah, 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 in order to prove your worth. And this part of us gets attached to the outcome. Well, I can't be happy until I have this, or I can't be happy until I have that, or I'm not worthwhile until I have that. Whereas when we come from the upper right brain, it's completely different. Here, we want to support who we are. We want to give ourselves freedom to express ourselves, express our love, express our gifts. So, as I said, I've told my inner child, you can fail as many times as you want. You can fall on your face. You can make a fool out of yourself. You can make all the mistakes. I am going to love you because I know who you are intrinsically. You are a spark of the divine. You are love. You are wisdom. You are connected to all that there is. And when people practice inner bonding and learn to define their internal worth, they don't attach their happiness and their worth to the outcome. So it's a completely different way of operating.
Thank you for repeating that. I was going to say, like, who is this inner bonding work for? But listening to you speak, I'm like, who isn't it for? It
That's right.
really is something that everyone should be doing. And
Right.
earlier when you had said, you talk to people and they go from resistance to
Yes.
courage.
Right.
And so knowing that everyone should do this work to find that self-love and self-worth, what would be your words if you knew of someone, or if someone came to you and said, I really want this, but I'm really resistant and I don't know how to find that courage because it's overwhelming or scary or whatever it is? What would you say to help someone sort of move the needle towards courage and say, okay, I'm going to do a workshop with you, or start with the 6 steps, or begin?
So when people come to me and they're resistant, I work with them with inner bonding to discover the false beliefs behind the resistance. See, so that's the process at work. Almost everybody has resistance because they have a lot of false beliefs. And so the process is about discovering those false beliefs, going to a higher source for the truth. And as they practice the process, they are developing their higher brain, and they start to get the courage. They may need some help, they may need some support, but eventually they get the courage and everything changes for them.
Love it. Can I, this is going to be slightly off topic, but a little bit on topic. I'm not real sure where it's going to fit actually. But one of the things I love about you is you talk about what to say to people who disagree with each other, or like if we disagree, you have such, and I think the reason why I'm saying that is because I think in our toolbox of life, how to deal with people that we disagree with is sometimes critical to our success. That's where
Yes,
that.
it is. So if you and I were having a disagreement, I would say to you, Elizabeth, you must have some very, very good reasons for seeing things the way that you do. And I would really love to understand it through your eyes, and I'm hoping you're going to want to understand it through my eyes. So we're moving into an intention to learn about ourselves and each other. We're moving out of who's right, who's wrong, gotta win, afraid of losing, all that comes into conflict. We use it as an opportunity to learn about ourselves and learn about each other.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Chris, we're almost out of time, actually. We've got about 4 minutes left, isn't that? That went by fast.
I know our summits are fast and furious. We love getting quick value. We love that you were visiting with us here today, Dr. Paul. And before we wrap up, we want to talk about your website again. People can be sent to. You go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, so they can go to innerbonding.com. We have a free 7-day course that can get them started on understanding inner bonding. We have free help, a whole lot of articles, whole lot of ways of beginning to learn inner bonding. And then, of course, there's courses. I have a Love Yourself course, a bunch of other courses that help people to learn and change their lives, heal their lives with inner bonding.
And we're also grateful to have you on besteveryou.com as one of our thought leaders for several years now. Your articles are there as well. And then you have you have 2 things. You have a free gift for our audience, and you have a new book coming out. It's called 6 Steps to, I might get those mixed up. I think it's 6 Steps to Complete Self-Healing.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That's the book. It's coming out next week.
Book out away free,
Yeah. Well, and there's a free ebook.
Yeah.
And so we'll make sure that everybody who's registered for the conference gets access to Dr. Paul's free ebook. And that ebook is 6 Secrets to Personal Love and Joyous.
Yeah, 6 Secrets to Profound Self-Love and Joyous Connection.
That's it. Thank you. I thought I had it memorized, but I slipped a little, but that's okay. I'm going to love myself through it, Dr. Paul.
That's right.
That's for me, so we're all good.
There you go.
It's funny. And then your other book, 6 Steps to Complete Self-Healing, is in pre-order. So we would encourage people to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever in pre-order. Dr. Paul, is there anything that just in a few quick minutes that you'd like to leave our audience with?
I just want people to know that even if they think they can't do this, that's a false belief. that anybody can learn to love themselves and truly transform their lives and find the success that they're looking for.
I love it. What happens when you go like this and put your hands on your heart, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, that creates oxytocin, and it really calms things down when you do this.
Yeah. Think right here too, right?
Right here.
Right here.
It's all about love.
Wow. Thank you. All right. Well, we love you very much. Thank you for being
Love you too.
All right. Big hugs.
Bye for
Hugs
now.
back.
Bye.
Bye.